There are promises that build dreams and promises that break souls. This is the story of Ethan and Grace, two lovers who started with nothing but faith, love, and hope. They believed that distance could never destroy what they built together. But life had its own plans. If you've ever believed in someone who forgot you the moment they succeeded, this story will touch your heart. So listen closely, because what happened between Ethan and Grace will remind you that loyalty is worth more than success built on lies. In a small, noisy street in Lagos, beneath a flickering light bulb, a young couple sat counting crumpled Naira notes. Ethan and Grace ran a tiny roadside kiosk selling bread, soft drinks, and sachet water. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Every evening after closing, they would sit together, counting the day's earnings, dreaming out loud. "Grace," Ethan said one night, wiping sweat from his brow, "one day I'll make it big. I'll travel abroad, work hard, and send for you. We'll live the kind of life we always talk about." Grace smiled, her eyes tired but full of faith. "I know you will, Ethan. I believe in you," she said softly. Then she added, "Just promise me one thing. Don't forget me when the light starts to shine on you." Ethan laughed gently. "Forget you? You're my light, Grace. I can't shine without you." That night, they shared their last special meal, a plate of jollof rice with one small piece of chicken. Ethan broke it into two. "Half for you, half for me. Everything I have, I'll always share with you." And in that moment, two struggling lovers sealed a promise that neither of them knew would one day be tested by distance, time, and pride. Months later, Ethan finally got his visa. It took loans, sleepless nights, and help from friends. But his dream was finally within reach. The night before he left, Grace couldn't sleep. She sat outside their little shop, staring at the stars. "Ethan," she whispered, "please don't change. No matter what you find out there, remember where you started." He hugged her tightly. "I'll come for you, Grace, I promise. Just 1 year, and I'll send for you." At the airport, Grace waved until her arms ached, until she couldn't see him anymore. Her heart was full, proud, scared, but full of hope. Life abroad wasn't easy. Ethan slept in a cold basement with 3 other immigrants. He worked night shifts, cleaning offices, and day shifts packing boxes. He ate cheap noodles and wore secondhand jackets, but he kept pushing. Every week, he sent messages to Grace. "Babe, I'm fine. Things are tough, but I'm holding on. Soon I'll send something." Back home, Grace was his biggest cheerleader. She prayed for him daily, worked extra hours selling provisions, and even sent him small money when he needed it. She believed in his dream as if it were hers. And then, little by little, Ethan's life changed. He got a better job, started earning good money, and moved into a nice apartment. He bought new clothes, a car, and started going out with new friends. His social media began to sparkle designer shoes, fancy restaurants, and smiling pictures with new people. But as his life began to shine brighter, his heart began to grow distant. Grace noticed the silence first. At first, it was missed calls, then unread messages, then weeks without any communication. When she finally reached him one night, his voice sounded different, colder. "Grace, I've just been busy. You won't understand how things work here." "But Ethan," she said gently, "you promised. You said you'd send for me soon." He sighed. "Things change, Grace. I'm still working on it." But deep down, Grace knew something was wrong. Then one day, she saw a photo on Facebook, Ethan smiling beside a woman dressed elegantly. The caption read, "New Beginnings." Her heart sank. She cried silently that night, not just because he had moved on, but because she realized she was holding on to someone who had already let go. 2 years later, Ethan returned to Nigeria for a family wedding. He had changed completely expensive clothes, gold watch, designer sunglasses. When Grace saw him again, her heart jumped. He was the same man she had loved, but also a stranger she barely recognized. She approached him quietly. "Ethan, it's been long." He looked at her, forced a smile, and said, "Yeah, Grace, you look fine." They sat aside, away from the crowd and music. Grace asked softly, "So, when are we continuing our dream? You know, the life we planned." Ethan exhaled and said the words that shattered her heart. "Grace, I'm getting married soon to someone abroad. She's got papers, she's well connected. With her, I can finally settle down properly. You should understand." Grace's eyes filled with tears, but she held them back. "So, after everything we went through, I'm just a chapter in your story." He shrugged. "You helped me when I needed help, but life moves on." She smiled faintly, stood up and whispered, "You're right, Ethan. Life moves on." And she walked away this time, not as a broken woman, but as one who finally realized her worth. Months later, Ethan married the woman he thought would guarantee his future. For a while, everything looked perfect. Vacations, photos, parties, and expensive gifts. But behind closed doors, things were different. The woman saw through him, his desperation, his lies, and his greed. She realized he wasn't in love with her. He was in love with what she could give him. One evening, after a heated argument, she exposed everything to the authorities. The fake documents, the lies, the schemes. Within days, Ethan was arrested, detained, and deported back to Nigeria. The same airport where he once smiled proudly was now the same place he stood, empty-handed and ashamed. No car, no money, no love, just regret. While Ethan's life fell apart, Grace's story was blooming. She refused to let heartbreak define her. She opened a small beauty store, worked tirelessly, and turned it into one of the best salons in her area. Through her business, she met David, a calm, gentle man who admired her determination. He never tried to impress her with wealth. He supported her with kindness. "Grace," he often told her, "you don't need to travel to find peace. You carry peace inside you." Their friendship grew into love, a healthy, quiet, and genuine love. Years later, Grace married David. They applied for Canadian residency through a business program, and when it was approved, she smiled deeply. Not because she was finally traveling, but because she was doing it on her own terms with a man who valued her. One late evening, Grace was locking her salon when she heard a voice behind her. "Grace." She turned slowly. Ethan stood there. His clothes were worn out, his eyes tired and empty. He fell to his knees. "Grace, please, I made a mistake. I lost everything. Please, give me another chance." For a moment, she just stared at him. The same man who once said she was part of his past was now begging to be part of her future. She took a slow breath and said quietly, "Ethan, I waited for you once, but life didn't wait with me." Tears streamed down his face. "Grace, please, I still love you." She shook her head gently. "No, Ethan. You loved the idea of success more than you ever loved me." Just then, David's car pulled up beside her. He stepped out and smiled warmly. "Honey, ready to go?" Grace nodded. Before leaving, she turned to Ethan and said, "I wish you peace, Ethan. But not everything lost is meant to be found." She entered the car, closed the door, and they drove off into the night. As the car disappeared, Ethan stood frozen under the streetlight, whispering, "I lost gold while chasing glitter." And that was the truth, because in chasing quick success, he lost the one person who truly loved him, not for what he had, but for who he was. Thank you for watching Lucci's Storytime. See you in the next one.